Let me just see if I can run down some of the stories. Yesterday, Bitcoin was approved for institutional investing. That came from the SEC. 15 institutional investors were given permission to start selling Bitcoin and including it in their, retirement funds, et cetera, et cetera. That's huge. That's why Bitcoin is going to break 50,000 probably here in the next few minutes. There was the block of the budget by 16 Republicans, Chip Roy, one of them, who are saying, you don't do something about the border, we're never going to pass a budget. Never. And God bless him for that. We have Mike Lee coming on about that here in just a minute. Christie dropped out. Gavin Newsom, we find out now, has a budget crisis. He refuses to call it an emergency, but if he's going to dip into the emergency funds, he then has to call it an emergency or he can't get any of those funds. It's $37 billion, and yet he announced just earlier this week, or was it last week, that he's going to be covering health insurance and sex changes with the California health system. So you got that going for you. Belichick was fired. Yeah.
And they say they parted ways. I don't think they would fire him after his 9 Super Bowls they went to.
Yeah.
But they're parting ways. He's going to probably go coach somewhere else. I mean, I don't know that I ever thought he would leave there other than just retiring. It's a huge. I mean, you're talking about probably the greatest NFL coach of all time, arguably.
Isn't Alabama kind of a big deal football?
Arguably the greatest college coach of all time. Also, Nick Saban leaving, which apparently was a pretty big surprise. And in the same day, or I guess it was one day apart technically, but in the same 24-hour period, certainly.
Then we had the debate, the town hall.
Yeah.
We had Fani Willis. That story broke. You know about that, right? She was having an affair with some attorney who then she said, I'm appointing you special counsel on the Trump thing. Except she can't do that. She needs permission to do that. It has to go through a board.
Right?
She never went through the board to do it, so she did not follow procedure. He's making like $650,000 on his special counsel. They're sleeping together. He's going through a divorce. She's being called as a witness. That's the real ethical woman, Fani Willis, that is going after Donald Trump. Then you also had Fauci yesterday come out and say the lab leak theory is not a conspiracy theory. Excuse me, what? The 6-foot distancing, we just made that up.
I still see the posters for that all around, all over the place. They're still just hanging up there as remnants of that era. And apparently no science on that particular claim?
Nope. Then you have the kids in New York getting kicked out of their own school for illegals. What would you do as a parent? Wait, my kid has to move? My kid has to go someplace else because their school has been taken over by illegals? No, I don't think so. Then you had Hunter Biden show up yesterday. That was bizarre. He shows up in Congress and just sits there, and everybody starts yelling at him. And then, in an even more bizarre move, he gets up and leaves in the middle of it. Then you had a couple of really disturbing things happen. You have Poland kind of teetering right where we are on the constitutional republic line. Listen to this. This is the Polish prime minister, an announcement he made yesterday.
For the first time since the dark days of totalitarian rule, we have political prisoners in Poland. They are the former Interior Minister Mariusz Kamiński and his deputy Maciej Wąsik. Both are democratically elected members of the Polish parliament. Both fought against communists. During their visit to the Polish President Andrzej Duda at the presidential palace, they were detained by the police and then taken into custody. This happened even though both received a presidential pardon. as the prerogative of the president allows under Polish constitutional law in 2015. The entire process, which culminated in the detention of 2 politicians, took place in flagrant violation of the rule of law.
Wow. As to make that even better, I don't know if you saw the Canadian Mounties or whoever they are, the Canadian police arresting the journalist. This is horrifying. Journalist is going and asking, I don't know, the Interior Secretary or something, why Hamas is not on the terrorist list for Canada. Listen to this.
Ms. Freeland, how come the IRGC is not a terrorist group? Why is your government supporting Islamo-Nazis?
He's just putting the mic in her face.
What are you doing? Arrest for assault. Why are you pushing me? You're under arrest for assault. You're under arrest for assault. Police, you're under arrest for assault. How am I under arrest? You bumped into me. You pushed into me. I was just scrubbing. I got my credentials here and you just bumped into me. So excuse me.
Police, you're under arrest.
What is your name and your badge? What is your name and your badge?
You've been told you're under arrest.
Why am I under arrest? He blocked my way.
Okay, stop. They take him away.
Jeez.
Now, this is a journalist that is walking down the street. The police officer was intentionally standing right where he was walking. He saw him coming. He didn't move. The guy had the microphone, and he bumps into him because he's walking backwards. So he doesn't see him, but he just bumps into him. And he's arrested for assaulting a police officer. Holy cow. Meanwhile, as we told you last week, the Red Cross, if you're giving money to the Red Cross, you should stop right now. In my opinion, you should stop. How could I say that? Red Cross does a lot of good things. Yeah, they're also passing out flyers on how to get to America all over South America and Latin America. Excuse me? What are you doing? What are you talking about? You're organizing? Well, they're helping. You also have Friends of the Train. I don't remember what it is in Spanish. They're doing it. And the United Nations is also aiding and abetting and pushing people towards our border. We're going to have 10 million new people here in America just from the last 4 years. That's an invasion. Meanwhile, our Congress and our president will do nothing. Nothing. There were 15 or 16 Republicans yesterday that stood up and said, no, you don't get a budget without the border. You secure the border, we'll talk to you about the budget. But no. And now everybody's, oh my gosh, we're not going to have a budget. We're going to shut down the government. We should shut down the government. What is the government doing to help you? What is the government doing to protect and defend the Constitution? What is the government doing to protect the borders? The government is out of control. We shouldn't be giving them another dime. Make them work for it. Force them to do their job. I'm only asking for the Constitution to be followed. I'm not asking for anything radical. Follow the Constitution and execute your job. And anyone who's not following, or worse, usurping the Constitution, fire them or try them if they've committed a crime. My gosh, what is wrong with us? Meanwhile, Houston, it's top 5 city now, isn't it? It's the 4th or 5th largest city in the country. Massive, massive city. It's growing by leaps and bounds, but it's growing with illegals. You're going to lose Texas. You will lose Texas as a red state. You will. It's only a matter of time. Period. Why do you think they're bringing all these illegals in? Two things. One, elections. And number two, Cloward and Piven. Overwhelm the system. That's what's happening in California. Gavin Newsom, you think he's going to be put in? Gavin Newsom, he's got a budget deficit now of $37 billion. Why? Because he's doing the same thing they're doing in New York. Get out of here. We're going to put some illegals in here. Can you imagine if you have your own business and you can't afford health insurance? You could barely afford it. You're just at the bottom of the barrel. And your tax dollars are going to give sex change operations to illegals. I think I'd lose my mind. I think I would lose my mind. I would definitely lose my house. I would sell my house so fast and get out of that state. That's true insanity. You can't make the budget. And so what is he cutting? What is he cutting? Tell me, Stu, how this one makes any sense at all. What is Gavin Newsom cutting now that he has a deficit of $37 billion? It will be $68 billion if he does nothing. Okay? So he's taken $13 billion from his rainy day fund reserves, which you're not supposed to touch unless you declare an emergency. But he won't declare an emergency. He's taking $8.5 billion from programs, deferring some spending to the future and spreading it out over more years. $8.5 billion in spending cuts. Half of those cuts are for housing. Now, wait a minute. Hold on. You're going to cut housing, and yet millions of people are coming across the border, and you already have a housing crisis in California. How's that work? Then the other thing he's doing is he's cutting on many of the promises on climate change. Now, if you're Gavin Newsom, remember, this is the World War II of this generation. How is he possibly doing that? What are the things he's cutting? Well, he said, I won't cut free kindergarten because he just added that. I won't cut health insurance for all low-income adults, regardless of their immigration status. So he's married to those two things. But he does want to delay a planned minimum wage increase for healthcare workers. So wait a minute. I thought that was going to help everybody. Everybody wins in that. Why would you, if that only helps people make money and it doesn't harm the businesses, why would you do that? Why? Then he is going to cut $40 million from a program that helps local and regional governments fight the impacts of extreme heat. $23 million for a pilot program to deploy zero-emission trucks that transport goods from ports. $600 million in spending for programs to help motorists replace gas vehicles with hybrid and zero-emission versions. If you actually believe this is the end of the world, why would you cut those things? Why? And this is the guy people say they're going to run. Okay. If America is that insane, well, then we deserve what we have coming to us, I guess. So what does all of this mean? And what is truly the big story of yesterday and today? So the biggest story today is this. I want you to imagine, play the audio of the mother outside of the New York school where her kids and all the kids have been told to leave because school needs to be occupied now by illegal immigrants.
How does it feel that you kicked all the kids out of school tomorrow? How does it feel? You feel good? I hope you feel good.
So her kids can't go to school because the school is now occupied by illegal immigrants. Okay? Imagine yourself in that situation. Now, if you've ever been to Brazil, I want you to imagine something else. If you've been to Brazil or Rio, you know it's wealth and like I have no clothing poverty, okay? And they live right on the other side of the fence. It is despicable, awful. It's poverty like Americans have never seen before. But that's what we're talking about. If we bring the third world here without a plan, without ways for them to realize the American dream, and we just keep giving stuff, or worse, we let people prey on them, we're going to be a third world country. That is your future. Living where you live and right on the other side of the fence is massive poverty. How do I know? I've been to Colony Ridge in Houston, and that's what it is. Across your fence is wild, like never before seen poverty. It's not all of Colony Ridge, but it is going to be popping up everywhere. Currently, it's in Houston. But these developments, when unscrupulous people, not doing anything illegal, see the opportunity to make millions of dollars, they're going to do this and repeat this all over America. What is Colony Ridge? It is the name of a development just outside of Houston, Texas, about 30 minutes outside of Texas. So you're commuting distance. And it is, many parts of it, third world feeling, okay? Are the people happy? Some of them are. Some of them are really unhappy. What is the whole story? Because the New York Post didn't get it right. I don't think the Daily Wire got it right. We tried really hard to get this right, and you will see the truth of Colony Ridge, and it's not about the Texas development. It is about you and your neighborhood. If you don't stand up, if Congress doesn't stand up and say no budget, if there's no border security, then this will come to your community. It may already be there. Watch it on Blaze TV. Subscribe to Blaze TV and watch the exclusive Blaze TV subscriber documentary, Colony Ridge.